You ever have one of those moments where your whole life, everything you built, every memory you made, every brick you paid for gets yanked out from under you, not with a gun or a break-in, but just a smug smile, a forged signature, and a handful of lies? Yeah, that happened to me. And I swear, standing there watching a stranger turn the key and walk into what used to be my home, I felt something inside me snap, not just out of anger or loss, but out of pure disbelief at how easy it was for someone with a little power and zero conscience to twist the truth and bulldoze everything you love right into the dirt. You know what I mean? See, I've always been the type who values peace over drama. 8 years on my grandfather's old farm, quiet, steady, minding my business. Most folks around here think I'm just the IT guy who fixes their Wi-Fi when it hiccups. But before this life, I did a good stretch in government work, so let's just say I learned early not to underestimate anyone or let them underestimate me. Not that Karen Whitmore, our illustrious HOA president, ever cared to know that. Karen was a year older than me, wore her authority like a crown and her pearl earrings like battle armor. 3 years running, she turned Sunset Valley into her own little fiefdom. For a long while, I thought we had an understanding. I paid my dues, kept my grass tidy, didn't rock the boat, and in return, she'd leave me alone. That illusion blew up the day I installed a security system after the Hendersons' place got hit by burglars. The cameras were strictly on my property, nothing fancy. But 3 days later, there she was, white blazer, clipboard in hand, telling me my aesthetically displeasing cameras violated the community's visual harmony. I asked real polite for the actual regulation. Her smile went cold, never touched her eyes, and she started in with legalese about modifications and neighborhood aesthetics. Next thing I know, I'm on her radar. Suddenly my grass is half an inch too tall, my trash cans linger at the curb a minute too long, there's a phantom oil stain on my driveway. Every notice was $25 and came with a passive-aggressive note signed in that big looping script. I measured the grass myself, took photos, wrote back with proof. She doubled down $50 fine for disputing authority. Her letters got fancier and the fines got steeper. I could see where this was headed. This was psychological warfare, HOA style. The first real twist came when she accused me of running an illegal business out of my home just because a couple clients stopped by for IT consults, demanded my licenses, tax doc stuff she had no right to see. I pushed back, cited the state code. Karen didn't like that. Her eyes narrowed and she asked, "Where'd you learn so much about real estate law, Mr. Miller?" I just smiled and told her I'd do my research, but in that moment I could feel the target on my back get bigger. She started popping up unannounced routine inspections. She called them, measured my fence, counted my flowers, even squinted at my mailbox numbers through a magnifying glass. The most absurd was when she wrote me up for an unregistered pet after neighbors reported seeing a big dog at my place. I don't even own a goldfish. I invited her in to see for herself. She refused but slapped the violation on anyway. That's when I let slip that false accusations can cross the line into harassment under state law. Her smile vanished. She started to realize I wasn't just a pushover with a good lawnmower. It wasn't just the paperwork, though. Karen started poisoning the well. She called closed-door community meetings, told everyone I was difficult, had anger issues, that I'd made threats. Neighbors who used to wave now ducked their heads. Only Mrs. Rodriguez from across the street had the courage to quietly warn me she'd never seen me lose my temper. But Karen's rumor mill was working overtime. It was like being cast as the villain in a play you never auditioned for. The final straw. My security cameras were tampered with, angles changed, one disabled. It was subtle but not an accident. I mentioned it to Tom Whitmore at the mailbox. Yeah, Karen's husband, a real estate lawyer. Decent guy. He looked genuinely surprised, almost worried. I realized even he didn't know what his wife was up to. And then Karen called an emergency HOA meeting. She'd put together a PowerPoint, blown-up photos of my violations, color-coded charts, even snippets of emails where I'd asked for clarification, spun to make me sound like a raving lunatic. This resident has created an atmosphere of hostility, she declared. Then she handed out ballots proposing a community vote to ask me to move out. Illegal, absolutely. But Karen acted like this was just another Tuesday. When I got home from a week in Hawaii, my first real vacation in years, there was a moving van in my driveway. A family was moving in. They had a deed signed by me, except I'd never signed it. Karen stood there in pearls explaining to everyone that I'd abandoned my property so the HOA reclaimed and sold it. Sarah, the pregnant wife of the new owner, was in tears. Bill was fuming, their kid clutching her leg. Karen's confidence was stunning. She whipped out official-looking papers, rattled off HOA bylaws, and dared anyone to question her. But here's the thing, paper trails don't lie, especially when you know what to look for. The dates were off. The bylaw, numbers were fake, my signature was a lousy forgery. I called my attorney, put him on speaker. He listened, then flat out said, "This is fraud. None of this holds water. HOAs can't just seize and sell private property." Bill and Sarah looked like they were about to be sick, and Karen's mask started to crack. But she didn't back down. In fact, the more cornered she felt, the harder she pushed. Then the cavalry started arriving from directions I never expected. Mrs. Rodriguez, bless her heart, had been quietly documenting Karen's harassment photos, audio recordings, handwritten notes, evidence of Karen targeting 2 other families with the same tactics. The Petersons and Johnsons had both been bullied out of their homes by manufactured complaints and fines, only for the HOA to buy their houses for pennies. Turns out I wasn't Karen's first target, just the first who pushed back. But the biggest shocker was Tom, her own husband. He reached out to me in secret, brought a USB drive full of HOA financial records, $67,000 missing money, moved to offshore accounts, documents with Karen's signature all over the place. He was terrified. She'd threatened to ruin his career if he exposed her, claimed I was dangerous, even threatened domestic violence accusations. The man looked broken but determined. Piece by piece, we built a case. Digital signatures all matched a sloppy trail. I found records of Karen using different last names in Nevada and Arizona, same MO, same script, marry into a community, rise to HOA leadership target, vulnerable families, rinse and repeat until the heat got too high and she moved on. But this time she'd gotten greedy. She'd started borrowing against the HOA's insurance, putting the whole community at risk. The bank was about to foreclose on everyone's homes, not just mine. So we took it public, called a meeting, invited everyone. Elena Rodriguez live-streamed the whole thing. Families Karen had chased out came back. Tom was there. When Karen tried to claim it was all misunderstandings, I laid out the evidence bank statements, forgeries, audio clips of her discussing problem residents, the whole digital paper trail. Then Tom stood up and backed me. Karen's face went from confident to pale, and when her lawyer realized how deep she was, he just picked up his briefcase and walked out. And then Karen cracked, screamed at me across the room, confessed to years of fraud, threatened me in front of 50 witnesses and hundreds online. "I should have burned your house down instead," she shrieked, and honestly in that moment even her old friends realized who she really was. The police were already waiting. She was arrested on the spot, federal investigation charges across 3 states. The community watched as the woman who had ruled with fear was marched out in cuffs. Afterward, the healing started. Properties returned to the families Karen stole from, money recovered, new board elected, real rules put in place, background checks, audits, protections. We built a garden where her victims could come together. Tom, freed from her shadow, helped the feds trace the rest of the money and later rebuilt his life. The HOA's shame became a model for reform. Our story went viral, sparked new laws, and warned other communities not to trust a single unchecked leader. Sometimes I still get mail from Karen letters from prison blaming me playing the victim. But you know what? Sunset Valley's stronger now. Kids laugh in the streets, neighbors trust each other, and nobody's scared to speak up. Karen tried to break us, but she just reminded us how powerful a real community can be. So tell me, where do you draw the line between authority and abuse? Is it ever just business when it's your home, your family, your life? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear your stories. Does your community stand up for itself, or does it let the Karens run wild? Let's talk about it.